When Adam started eating out of his wife's hand, sin came in because the divine order was broken. This breaks all sociological orders of the culture we're living in now, because we are raising up women to be men. And you are not applauded for your femininity. You are applauded in the contemporary society by how tough, rough, nasty, mean, aggressive, hateful, possessive you are, and you are climbing the corporate ladder, but we are losing our families. I know you can buy your own car. I know you can buy your own house, but until you create a need that I can pour into, I have no place in your life. So stop coming home bragging to me about how much you don't need me and wonder why I shy away. Oh, y'all ain't gonna talk back to me this morning. The conversation has become, let's prove to the men how dispensable they are. And it is born out of pain because we hurt you and betrayed you and lied to you and cheated to you. And you became like you became out of pain.
It's very difficult for women to recognize and understand that, first of all, self-care comes first. It's about taking care of ourselves. It's not about not needing anybody else. It's not about not needing a man, but it's more about how can I take care of myself successfully? How can I love myself successfully? Then I can better love another person in my life. But if we're looking at it from the perspective of women being too independent, women being too self-sufficient, we are learning as women, specifically Black women, that sometimes we are the only ones we can depend on. We are the only ones that we can trust, because part of being too independent is having lost the trust in other people, i.e. men. And so with us being that woman, so to speak, to men, we sometimes give off the persona that we don't need them, that we don't want them. But what we're really giving off is, I've been hurt, I've been traumatized, I'm broken, and I don't trust anymore.
Black women, sincerely, have the same survival thrust that Black men have. It is a warrior spirit. If you look into the theories of African self-consciousness, posited by Baba Kobe K.K. Cambone, irrespective of gender, Black people have an internal drive to live, to thrive, and to succeed. Black people, not Black men, Black people, which means the same way that you have kings in Africa, you had queens. We like to say that we was kings, and but once again, there were queens as well, and we like to conveniently step over that. The same way there was polygamy, there was polyandry, and we like to conveniently step over that. The same way men had brothels, women also had brothels. We want to step over that. Why? Because we like to hold on to this Europeanized idea of power, which situates power solely within men. African-centered ideologies recognize that both masculine and feminine have power and roles. So if you a hotep and you misogynistic, brother, you are wildly confused. Wildly. If you are a Christian man, a Black Christian, and you're misogynistic, you're wildly confused. Wildly. Right? If you are a Black man who believes himself to be a Black man and you are misogynistic, you are wildly confused. Wildly. You are attempting to behave like a white man because we as Black men recognize the power and the privilege that white men have, and we want it.
Respectability politics. Respectability politics are always the focal point of Black culture. An example of that would be the idea of breaking down the independent woman syndrome. The belief is that Black women have been duped by white feminism, used as a weapon of mass destruction in the Black family unit. The misconception? Black women who are single with no children, like myself, demonstrate a level of independence that's steeped in arrogance, man-hating feminism, and a level of unattractiveness that's keeping us single and childless. The very existence of the Black woman in the eyes of many within the community is linked to her ability to get and keep a man. When Black women fail to keep a man, it's believed they have failed at womanhood. The belief about independent, overly educated Black women is something that we constantly deal with on a regular. The belief is that overly educated or too independent women have failed the Black community, our families, and ourselves. We are undesirables. We played too many games with men in our youth and are now used goods that no man would make a wife. We lack the feminine attributes that the average man finds attractive in a future mate, or that he finds attractive in women of other ethnicities. They believe we're masculine and in competition with men to be a man. The overall objective is to convince us that we will die alone.
You don't know what you're doing.
The real men are stepping up right now. And what's happening is the women that are choosing to follow their Black men are going to be ultimately triumphant. And for those of you that want to stay behind, stay behind. Hold on fiercely to your independence. Let me tell you how stupid this independence thing is. We're going to make El Wapo's about to break this down so you don't ever forget it. You think you're a strong, independent entity? I want to see you knock somebody out with one finger. Do it. I want you to hit somebody as hard as you can in the jaw with a single finger, because that's your fragile independence right there. Now, I dare you to actually be interdependent in a Black family and bond yourself together, surrounded by the people that will keep you safe and tight, and then strike a blow. That's how you're strong.
You're speaking from the perspective of a man that has not experienced life from a Black woman's perspective. And this is what I find interesting, is that we can't speak on Black male life and the Black male experience because we've never lived it. But male privilege gives you such the opportunity in the space to speak on what you think we as Black women should do and be in relation to how we service you, that you don't have to be quiet on how you feel we should think, act, and exist in Black spaces. And be honest with you and be real. Yes, the Black woman is protected by the Black family unit in the Black community, that fist you spoke of. Yes, we are. But that's only when we grow up in an environment where we are supported, respected, and protected, and aren't forced to survive.
So the word submission was taken from the Bible, and Paul was writing to the Ephesians, and he said, the first verse prior to the submission piece, to Chandra, he said, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself for it. Then he said, wives, submit to your husband. So if you think about what Paul was saying, he was saying first the man has to be submitted to Christ, has to be exemplifying Christ, has to be acting like Christ. Then the woman, it'll be easier for her to submit because it's not difficult for me to submit to the Lord Jesus Christ, but I can't submit to a liar, to a cheater, to a whoremonger. I can't submit to that, because that means that, one, your spirit man isn't right, and you don't have my best interest at heart. But that word submission actually has power, because when a woman submits, she's submitting to a man who is totally broken, who is totally willing, who is totally given himself to her. But what we have now in society is men that are wanting women to submit to something that they shouldn't. Because what are you wanting her to submit to? The fact that you don't have a job, the fact that you have 4 or 5 baby mamas, the fact that you are getting drunk and taking dope, the fact that you're disrespectful and you're abusive. Is that what I'm submitting to?